Hi, I'm Nene. I'm a fiber artist, and today I want to show you and take you along with me while I design a new embroidery pattern for my embroidery kits. Just a disclaimer, this is not a tutorial, this is just a human being creating an embroidery design without the use of AI, and these are just my steps and the thought process I get into. Let's go! So, the first step is actually find the time to do the designing process, which is the thing that takes me the most. One would think it's embroidery, but it's not. So right now I'm actually mending some socks because I've been putting it off for quite some time, and my my new process is that whenever I finish a thread, so right now I finished this green thread, I will stop and think about my project, my next project for embroidery for a while, and when I'm tired with that, I'm gonna go back to mending. This is because I'm not the kind of person that can focus on a single task for 3 hours. I need to tackle some stuff in between. I love multitasking, and I feel more driven if I have a lot of tasks at hand. So yeah, this might be weird, but I'm trying this, and so far so good. Anyway, this thing here is one of my many journals, and I use this one specifically for ideas for new projects, patterns, brooches, kits, all the things I can think of designing for the needle. I jot them down here, and my thought process is usually linked to inspiration I see in real life, and so I take a picture when I see an inspiration, and then I print the picture and I paste it on this journal. And when I come back to it, it can be even later in time. Sometimes it's in the same moment, but sometimes it's later. I'm gonna draw next to it what was my idea, and then from there start. For today's idea, I have this picture of a Christmas ornament that I took 2 years ago, and it's a balloon. What do you call it? Hot air balloon. It's a hot air balloon Christmas decoration that has a snowman attached underneath. But yeah, and my idea was to make a hot air balloon design, and inside the basket I'm gonna put 2 animals that I think are gonna be cats, because I love cats. And I jotted down some ideas for the project too, so I already have some ideas of the stitches I'm gonna use. And I was thinking of making the hot air balloon with some felt, so it can also be a little bit 3D. We'll see about that. My process is a lot of trial and error, let's say so. As my speaking, apparently. Anyway, what I do is, after having the first drawing on paper, and when I'm glad with the concept idea, I take my iPad and I take a picture of the paper and open it on Procreate, which is a drawing app. This is by no way a tutorial, but yeah, what I do is I have a circle picture that is my embroidery hoop in my head, and I just try to center my photo as well as I can, so I can use it as reference when I start drawing what will be the pattern I'm then gonna transfer on fabric. The drawing part can take some time, but it also allows me to think really carefully about every line I'm making and think about what will become of that line in embroidery. So I'm already thinking about which stitches to use when I will make it on the fabric. When I'm finally content with the sketch, and it does take 1 to 2 weeks because I open it back and back again multiple times just to see if I like the image, and if not, I make some small retouches here and there, or I try different stuff and then keep on opening. And when I'm happy, I merge I make a copy of all the layers and I merge them into one single drawing, and then I start putting some colors on the lines that will eventually lead me to choose the thread colors. I am not a trained artist, so this process, once again, has some trial and error into it, but I always try to choose colors that work well together, and I kind of stick with a limited color palette because it allows me to make better kits that are more beginner friendly and that I can source the materials faster and easier. I'm still making some adjustment, and as I did with the drawing, I opened the file in the span of a few days to see if the colors were right for me. And I also took the time yesterday during my lunch break with the sunlight outside to actually choose what I think will be my palette of color. Again, I highly recommend to do this in the sunlight because as I watch this now it seems a bit too dull, but I just know they are stunning colors, and so I think it's the right moment to transfer this on fabric and start working on it and see if the stitches and the colors work. Usually when I make my patterns I have a page that is the right size to be printed and to fit the hoop I recommend, but in this case I just scale the drawing to the hoop and then I stop the screen from moving, so I start guided access, and so even if I move the cloth and the fabric it will be there, and then I take my erasable pen and I trace it. Since I wanted the hot air balloon to be kind of three-dimensional, I decided to start with that. So I cut out the shape of the hot air balloon in felt, and I will stitch it onto the fabric to add a layer. I always store my skeins into bobbins that I make out of cardboard. I found this so fun because this was my very first reel I ever posted on Instagram. It was on how to make these cardboard bobbins, and as I was saying then, I said use the cardboard from your pizza boxes, and I still do. So yeah, just order up a pizza and make some cardboard bobbins. When storing your thread into the cardboard bobbins, you are supposed to start pulling from the bottom part where the number is. And of course, I do this an insane amount of time, but the one time I feel myself, it gets tangled. I thought this shot would look cool, but I just look like the cat vibing meme. Look at me. Look at us vibing together. When I embroider, lots of thing changes. So I just started this yesterday and I made the blue section. And then as I was going to make the garlands, I decided that this drawing was a bit too much. I mean, they are a lot. So I decided to redraw them and I started making them with less garlands in each space and see if that could work. And this is where I'm at. And then when I made them the first time, there were blue garlands in there, but I don't need them since the background is blue. So now that I am remaking them with fewer garlands, I also decided to discard the blue ones. So this is the new section I am following to embroider. Every time I do like 2 to 3 stitches, I remember to take a picture with my phone, and then I'm gonna use all those pictures to make the embroidery pattern. And since I try to make them as beginner friendly as I possibly can, I always try to add so many pictures so you can see how each and every stitch creates the final pattern and design. So I've been kinda bad, not with embroidering per se, but at filming myself while embroidering, because I don't know, I just get in at this like really focused trance-like space. Anyway, I've been holding on to my embroidery for some days because I always try and wait for the tiniest bit of sun to bless me and my work, because I do work better with natural light and with sun rays, and because I'm taking photos of the step-by-step process to make instructions for the pattern. And it has just been the greyest weeks, and it has constantly been raining, the weather is awful, and the light is... I'm doomed. So this is a great day. Anyway, I've tried to make the most of my lunch breaks, and this is why maybe I found it difficult to film it. I just had a really short amount of time, and I wanted to make the most of them, so I embroidered, and this is where I'm at. I am loving this so far. I just, the basket was exactly how I envisioned it, so I'm super in love with it. And now for the sky. So I want to make the stars and I want to make the clouds, and I have some thoughts for the clouds. I want to make them in different ways. And I'm kind of bummed I didn't get to film the real process of this, because as I said before, things do change while I make them. So I change colors because I try one and then it doesn't work, so I switch for the next one, and I change stitches and I change number of threads and things like that. That's all part of the design process. It's a lot of trial and error, but that's all right. I think I am at a good point with it. I'm liking it and I can't wait to finish it. And here's to maybe have some clips of me actually embroidering this. I was going to embroider the clouds and somehow I drew one much bigger than the other one, and filling this with French knots would be a massive pain. So I'm thinking of copying the first cloud and just try to make the second one look more similar to that one, so it will be a little bit smaller and easier to fill, and just finish up the space with some more stars. I just noticed that like 80% of the recordings I do in my studio are just me sitting at my desk and embroidering, which is not the most entertaining thing, but that's exactly what I do. So I'll try to make every moment count and make the most of every second. So I'm gonna be here embroidering every little free time I have. And yeah, right now I'm making the stars. I absolutely love how they are coming out, and I love this shade of yellow, and I love how I managed to make the sparkles, because I tried a few different things on a scrap piece of paper, a piece of fabric, and I'm really, I love how they turned out. When I finish my embroidery hoop, I always take the greatest time and pleasure into creating a little background and take some photos of the finished project. And that's exactly what I'm doing in this clip. I'm lucky I already have a structure for my patterns, so I already have the graphic, all the video tutorials for the stitches I already made in the past, so I can use them and bend them to my need and create something that everyone can enjoy and they can make, even if they have never taken up a needle and thread. And when all the photos have been taken, I start working on the embroidery pattern per se. So I add each step I made and all the photos I took. I write all the instructions catered to beginners, so I always try to add lots of details and be very specific with everything I did. And once all of that is done, it is time to make the embroidery kits. So I gather all the materials and I first start with threads that I cut into the specific colors and length that is necessary, and then I put everything together and this, of course, it's my favorite step, into a little bag, and that's the embroidery kit. I always imagine it going into the hands of somebody who wants to embroider or wants to learn more stitches, more different techniques, and it just fills me with so much joy and gratitude for everything I do becomes this. It's awesome. I'm gonna show this last part a bit quicker because I always show this when I do my vlog preparing for markets and events, so if you like this, you can find lots more into my other videos. And here are all the kits I've made. I decided to call this pattern Into the Sky. I just love it extremely. I hope you like coming with me into designing and making this. If you like fiber arts, you can find many other videos on my channel. If you have any questions about the process, you can leave them in the comments. I'd be glad to reply. And see you in the next video. Bye!